Sometimes life just sucks, and sometimes it freaking rocks. We will discuss all the things from family and real estate to travel and just life in general. So take a seat, or don't, you do you, and welcome to the Limbadass Podcast. Today's podcast, two things. I want to talk about female relationships for sure, because I can relate to that. But I also want to talk about male-female relationships because I think that that's very intriguing. I had lunch with a girlfriend last week. Went to a great Mexican restaurant, by the way, in Chino. So good. It's kind of like a modern flair. Billy, have you been to Quesadillas?
Yes, I have. It's by our house. It's in Eastville, right?
No, it's in Chino. It's over by...
On Archibald?
No, it's on Euclid.
On Euclid.
Like
I know. I totally been there because there's like lights everywhere and it turns into a club at night.
Yes. So it's so fun. Thank you, Billy, for getting in on this podcast too. I was like, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm just going to say it. Don't come at me. I don't think men and women can have platonic relationships. I do not think that. Now, I do believe couples can have relationships, right? So David and I have our best friends, the Mitchells and the Bengards. I fully believe that we can have relationships. I believe that Melissa can text message my husband or Jamie can text message my husband and there not be anything, like not even, or I can text message Eric or Jared, their husbands, and it's nothing like, hey, what's going on? Do you guys have plans this weekend or whatever? Now, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna obviously text message my girlfriend. But if they're not getting back to me, I'm like, I'm going to your husband right away. And I don't think twice about it. So I do know that there are some people who won't even do that. Like they won't even involve the opposite sex spouse at all. And that's totally fine too. I am very, you know me, if you've listened to my podcast before, I'm very firm on boundaries. So if that's where your boundary is, I'm totally okay with that. But we know of somebody, I don't know these people personally. We know of somebody, though, who has an opposite sex best friend. And when these people got married, they told their spouse, hey, heads up, I have a friend named Lauren. This is a guy saying it. I have a friend named Lauren, and this is just an example. And we go on trips together. Like once a year, I want to go on a trip with I want to go on a trip with my best friend, and that's how we're going to do it. Now, in high school, I had a ton of guy friends. In fact, I would say my whole friend group, I would say like 85 to 90% of them were boys. And I feel like that was just because there's no drama. I really don't like a lot of drama. It's just not my jam. I don't want to be a part of it. I always want to hear what you have to say and how you're feeling in a certain aspect, but then after that, like, okay, let's move on. So I just don't think that is possible. Even if it is possible, I feel like there is almost some shadow of like insecurity there, right? So if I know I have a good girlfriend of mine, a really good girlfriend. We were just talking about this the other day. So if she listens to this podcast, she's going to start cracking up. We were talking and out of all my friends, she is probably one of the only people that I know who can have a relationship with a member of the opposite sex. Again, their spouses aren't super close. It's not like it's a group thing, but she has a really good relationship with this guy who is an awesome human being. And they truly, genuinely have always only been friends. So she's probably one of the only people that I can think of off the top of my head that I would be like, I don't know. And I even told her that. I'm like, girl, for some reason, this just works for you. And she's like, it does. And I said, that would not work for me. Like if my husband was talking to somebody that he had known since elementary school, I would not give a shit. I would be like, this doesn't fly. Like, I don't know. I don't like that feeling at all. And it's funny because I do have a lot of friends and I have a lot of guy friends. I say this very loosely because it's not like we're best friends. It's not like we talk on the phone, but like I'm a real estate agent. And when we go to seminars, there's tons of seminars. There's like a group of us and we all like stay together. We let other people come in and stuff. It's not like a clique by any means, but I have a very good friend of mine in Vegas. He came to my birthday party with his girlfriend, had the best time. Another really good friend of mine who lives in San Diego, he's a real estate agent. He also came to my birthday in Cabo with his girlfriend. But when we're at these seminars, like it's just us all hanging out. But I think the difference is that Sweetie Pie is almost always a part of the group. And it's so funny because I have a seminar coming up in February, the end of next month, and we're going to Orlando. It's in Orlando. It's being held there. So I'm flying in, and the girls of the group were messaging all the group, and we're like, "Hey, everybody up for dinner? Like, what are we doing? You know, all the things." And the number one question that I got was, "Is Sweetie Pie coming? Should I make reservations for him too?" It's almost like he's a part of the group without being there, you know, without being a real estate agent. And I said, "No, Sweetie Pie's not coming on this trip." I said, he has too much work going on. He can't get the time off. He's just busy." And literally every person was like, "Dang it. Okay." And I'm like, "Well, so can I still come?" Like, because I've told you before, like he is the life of the party. So I do think like there can definitely be colleagues and stuff like that without any like sexual tension or anything like that. But all things considered, like we don't do stuff outside of that. I mean, literally, I go to Vegas. Well, I don't go to Vegas often, but I go to Vegas, you know, here and there. And every once in a while, like my friend will come and meet up with us and we'll all have dinner and stuff like that together and whatnot. But my friend in San Diego, we talk about going and grabbing lunch and talking business all the time. And we still have yet to do it. So I do think that there is certainly a fine line of if it's a business relationship versus like an actual friendship. I will say in real estate, especially at these events, married people go and sleep with people all the time. It's crazy. I was talking to David about it. It's so gross. It's so gross. But that's my opinion. I mean, sleep with who you want. I don't care. I'm not a fan of you cheating on your spouse, but it's none of my business either. So there's that. But I do think that there is something to be said for platonic business relationships amongst male and females versus like actual friendships, you know, amongst males and females. Like, God forbid something happened to any of my friends. The chances of me personally being friends with their husbands, I mean, we would be acquaintances. We'd be cool. "Hey, can I help with the kids? What do you need?" You know, that sort of thing. But it's not like I'm going to call and be like, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner?" Like, that's not something that I'm going to do, you know? The other thing I wanted to talk about is something that's really big in female relationships, and those are girl trips. So it's funny. I have a lot of girlfriends who love girl trips, and they're great. I love them too. It's so fun to go and hang out with the girls and have a fun weekend away. But if I am being completely honest, and I've been on girl trips with quite a few girls, if it's not a bachelorette party, like where you're supposed to go and hang out with the girls, it's not my favorite thing. The truth of the matter is, I don't think that there is nothing that I'm going to do on this girl trip that I wouldn't do if Sweetie Pie was there. Like, it's not like I'm going to sit here and get drunk out of my mind and act like a fool. And if I am, Sweetie Pie could be there for that. Like, that doesn't bother me. Even there was a couple years ago, friends of ours were getting married. They've been married a while now, actually. But they were getting married, and they did a bachelorette party in Vegas. And it was probably my favorite bachelorette party that I've ever been to. Because what they did was they all went at the same time. So it was, you know, which was awesome because people only needed to get babysitters like for one weekend. I mean, I guess if one spouse is staying home and you have kids, I get it, but it worked out. Anyways, so the guys hung out with the guys and the girls hung out with the girls, but then like for dinner and stuff, we would go and be together. But then at night, you know, we'd go our separate ways, go to different clubs or whatever. And it was so fun because I remember we went to Magic Mike, like Magic Mike had just come out like in, I was going to say in the theaters, not in the theaters, had just come out like live. And, so we went to that. The guys went to the strip club, did their thing. And then it was funny. Like I texted David, like right after I was done, I was like, "Hey, are you guys done at the strip club?" And he's like, "I'm so over it. Where do you want to meet?" And I'm like, "Let's go." We had another group of friends that were there. And I was like, "Hey, let's go meet up with Joe and let's go to this club at the Paris." And he was like, "Done." So we met up at the Paris. We had so much freaking fun. I remember on the way back home, it was so funny. On the way back home, this guy, this like famous rapper was there, and he sat there and he was like making it rain, like with all this money, right? And so David's like scooping it up and like putting it in his pockets and all the things. So we took a taxi cab back and we're like pulling out these gross dollar bills from like David's shirt, and we're trying to pay the taxi cab driver. And we go to our room, and David and I were rooming with two other girls who are not only amazing clients of mine, but good friends of ours. But that was like the first weekend that we had really met because they were two girls and they needed somebody to room with and they didn't mind that Sweetie Pie was there. So it kind of worked out. But it's nice because we got to share the cost with somebody and we got to hang out. I tell that long whole story to just get back to the fact that for me, if I don't have to spend time away from my husband, I really don't want to. And it's not that I don't love girls' trips. It's not like I don't enjoy it. I look forward to them. But I can tell you the last time I went on one, a bunch of us girls went to Palm Springs. We had the best time, but I was really, really happy to get home when it was done. And we had a great time and I love my friends. But the truth of the matter is, if all of their husbands and spouses were there, I would not have cared at all. In fact, it probably would have been a hell of a lot more fun because David's the party person. When we go on these girls' trips and stuff like that, like I'm checking in with my kids, like I'm still talking to my husband, there's no contact order or anything like that. So I understand there are certain girls who do need to get away from their spouses, and there are probably men also who need to get away from their spouses because we can be a little crazy here and there. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, I really just want to spend time with my family and I really like my spouse. One thing that I will tell you that I am really good at, and it's kind of along these lines, is I will always have my friends back. Example, if you come to me and you are bitching left, right, and center about your husband, I'm going to listen and I'm going to be like, that sucks, boo. I am on your side. I'm here to have your back. But eventually we're going to have the conversation of, okay, well, let's now talk about what you have control of, because you can't control your spouse and you can't control what they do or how they act. You can only control yourself and your actions and your thoughts. So now that you're done complaining about your husband to me, I am pro you guys. So like if Bianca were to come to me and be like, I'm so mad at Billy, I'm going to be like, hey, that sucks, but I'm here for the Stuckmans. I'm not here for Billy. I'm not here for Bianca. I'm here for the both of you. I am rooting you and your marriage on. So get it all out, lay it out. We're going to sit here and say how much he sucks. And then we're going to be like, yeah, but it was really cute when he did this and that. Like, I'm always going to bring you back full circle. And a lot of times I get blamed for, having the spouse's back. Why do you have the spouse's back? Why do you have his back? That what he did was wrong. Yeah, what he did was wrong. You're right. Like, and it sucks, but maybe have this conversation with him now. Because now that you've gotten it out and the anger and everything is out, now maybe you can have a constructive conversation with them. And instead of you attacking them, you can tell them, hey, this is how I feel when you say this. I know that when ever I have an issue with Sweetie Pie, I'm like, hey, I don't like it when you do this because it makes me feel this way. And 9 times out of 10, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. That's okay. I'm going to take this into consideration the next time that I feel like saying or acting this way. So instead of me going to him and being like, hey, this pissed me off, but the actuality is it didn't really make me mad. It really hurt my feelings 9 times out of 10. So I'm always going to have the back of the marriage. I'm not going to have your back and I'm not going to have his back. And here's the other thing. If you're constantly bitching to me about your husband and you don't want a solution, I'm not the person to come to, okay? I'm going to sit here and tell you, hey, I really think you should look at it from this point of view. And hey, did you ask him about this? And I need you to say, oh, well, I didn't think of it that way. Not, well, yeah, but he did this and this and that. I remember I was talking to a good girlfriend of mine and she was complaining about her husband. And I said, hey, have you thought of going to therapy? And I love therapy, by the way. I'm not in it, but I feel like because I have Nicole on my team, I get therapy through her because she goes through therapy. So it's like therapy by proxy. And I've said that more than once. But anyways, have you thought about therapy? And she says, no, I haven't because he won't go to therapy. Okay. Well, have you thought about going to him or going out to dinner once a week and saying, hey, this bothered me this week and I just want to get it off my chest and having a constructive conversation? No, I haven't thought about that because it's hard to schedule this and that. Okay. And then I sit here and I give like 4 more other examples of things like, hey, have you thought about this or have you considered this? And everything is no, but this, no, because of that. And finally I looked at her and I'm like, then get divorced. And she looked at me. And I was like, you are coming to me with a shitload of problems. And I'm telling you different ways that you could fix this problem. And you're giving me every reason in the book not to. So if you want to hear, then get a divorce. There, I said it to you. And her husband, freaking big mouth, and I love her, and she's going to know that who I'm talking about when she hears this. But her husband came to me and was like, Lauren, did you tell so-and-so to divorce me? And I was like, oh, listen. And I said, this is the conversation that was actually had. And I told him, and he started laughing, and he was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I called my girlfriend and I was like, listen, don't ever use me as a means to be like, oh, well, even Lauren thinks we should get a divorce, or even so-and-so thinks this. That's not what I was saying. It's like being fat and you go to a nutritionist and they're like, okay, you need to work out. Well, I don't have time to work out. Okay, well, if you don't have time to work out, can you walk maybe 3 times a week? Nope, I don't have time for that because I have this and my kids have that and we're doing this and that. Okay, then what about your nutrition? Oh, well, I don't want to cook 2 separate meals. Okay, no worries, but can you maybe meal prep? Well, I don't have time to meal prep. It's like, fuck, just be fat then. Like, we're telling you all these things that you can do to better yourself. The actuality of it is you really don't want to fix it. You just want somebody to bitch. And then I read to bitch too. Then I read something the other day, and I had a girlfriend call me last night on my way home from work. And she was like, oh my gosh. And she told me something that had happened in her life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a big deal. And so when I was driving home, I asked her, hey friend, do you want my advice or do you want me to just listen to you? And she was quiet. And I don't think anybody had ever asked her that before, because the truth of the matter is when people, people by nature are fixers. In my experience, especially men, I called David yesterday with an issue and he was like, hey, this is the way this is going to end and don't even worry about it, and totally made me feel better. But women are not always that way. Sometimes we just need people to listen to us. And I read somewhere where, sometimes we're not in the space to take advice of friends and or family. So if you're not in that space, I want to give you an out. So I said, do you want me to listen to you or do you want my advice? And in that moment, she was quiet. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to listen to you. And when you want from me what I would do, let me know. So I did. I listened to her and she was really upset, and rightfully so. You know who you are if you're listening to this. And rightfully so. And I was just like, I'm so sorry that this happened. This sucks. And then finally she was like, okay, now I do want to know, like what, like curiosity, I want to know what you would do or what you would say. And so then we were able to talk through that. But had I gone to her with advice right in the moment when she just needed somebody to listen, she wouldn't have been in the headspace to take it in. She would have been like, I know, because 9 times out of 10, everything I'm going to tell you is what you need to do anyways. It's just reaffirming that isn't what, in fact, you need to be doing. So when it comes to female relationships, I think we need to be open to one another. And I think we need to question one another. Are you in a space to listen, or do you want my advice? Like, what do you want from me? Because I want to be whatever it is you need from me right now. And I think we need to feel comfortable saying, hey, I just want you to listen right now. Or I'm going to want advice, but not yet. And I can totally relate, because there have been so many times that I've been so pissed off about a situation that it's like, no, just listen to me. I don't want your advice. I need you to just listen. Yesterday I was talking to my sister and I was telling her a story, and I was just going off, and she's like, I feel like you need to just let it all go. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. So I was like we were on FaceTime together. So it was really cute. And I really appreciated that from my sister in that moment, because she's right. I didn't need to hear what it was that I already know. I just needed her to listen to the space that I was in. So when it comes to relationships, if you have one with me, if you are one of my friends and you want to complain about your spouse, I'm going to hold that space for you. But then I'm going to tell you, get your act together, go back home and work it out, figure it out. There has to be some form of communication that needs to take place. And a lot of times, if you listen versus listening to hear versus listening to speak, meaning you're listening to hear them for what they're saying, and instead of trying to think of what comeback you're going to come back to them at. I always try to hear people for what they're saying. And so I think as females, we're so used to being ready for a comeback or a way to solve the problem that sometimes we just need to sit in that moment. So I will also tell you, I am not for your husband. Your husband's not going to come to me and complain. If he does, that's weird. But if you're coming to me with an issue about your spouse, I'm going to save that space for you. But I want you to know that when I bring it to your attention, have you thought about this? It's not because I think you're imperfect. It's not because I have your husband's back. It's because I'm cheering you on as a couple. I am rooting for you both to work this out so that there's no longer an issue. And I think that the sooner people understand that, the better. Side note, if you do want to go on a girls' trip, don't not invite me. But just know that if I say no, that it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't love you or that I don't want to spend time with you. It just has to do with the fact that I work a lot of hours. And when I'm not working, I really, really want to pour into my family because I'm sitting here and I'm watching my kids grow up so fast. I mean, far faster than I care to even admit. And I always tell everybody, I don't have a problem with my kids growing up. I just hate how fast it's happening. So if I want to hang out with my family, don't take it personal. It's not personal at all. It's just, girl trips, they're fun. They're great. I've been on plenty of them. They're just not my thing. So I hope that you got something from this. I hope some of you were able to resonate with this. And if I am completely crazy and you are all for the girl trips and doing things without your spouse, you know what? It takes all different types. So I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that too. Definitely be sure to leave me a comment because I am curious and I think that this is something that we should talk about. So anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful week and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.